Hello there, everybody. I'm Captain Jim Palmer, the Dream Business Coach. Yes, I know it's 3:05, okay? And I'm going to get Bill Gates because 2 minutes before Tracy and I were ready to go live, major update, and I couldn't stop it. It said, oh my God, my computer took forever. But we're here, right? We're alive, we're healthy. We're going to share some really good stuff with you. So take two. Here we go.
Love it.
Anyway, I am the creator of the Dream Business Mastermind and Coaching Program. I'm the creator of No Hassle Newsletters, author of these 6 books, which I'm going to show you how you can get for free at the end of the show. Most importantly, today, for the last 10 years, I am the host of Dream Business Radio. Now in its 10th year, it's so hard to believe. Anyway, my special guest is Tracey Cirino. Tracy, you are very patient. Thank you. How are you doing today?
I am doing amazing. It's one of those things. Technology is awesome when it works. So I preach it. So I embrace it all the time.
I sat in my chair and it said, updating will restart, updating. I'm like, okay, we're not curing cancer here, although I had a good checkup on Monday. So we're going to share some really good stuff today. I'm a little out of sorts. So I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to skip my usual commercial and the other. I'll tell you about a special ebook that you can get. I'm just going to go right in and introduce Tracey so we can dive right in and share some great stuff. Tracey Watts Cirino is a 5-time #1 international best-selling author, award-winning business owner, highly engaged speaker, and she is also a podcast host of Beyond Common Sense Secrets. Tracey is passionate about helping other people become successful entrepreneurs and reach their highest potential. She helps business owners and leaders discover their own personal power so they too can develop customized success systems. I'm going to ask her about that for sure. She is the founder and CEO of Beyond Common Coaching and Training Company. She provides success strategies and speaking services to business owners across the world. And with her gifts of clarity and cutting through the BS, Tracey has developed a proven Beyond Common Success method. So Tracey, I think now I'm on schedule since I deleted all that other stuff I usually do. Welcome to Dream Business Radio.
Well, thanks for having me, Jim. I'm so excited to be here.
Have you ever had that on your podcast? You're like 2 seconds from go time.
You know what? Yes, we've had all the things. We were actually just talking about creating like a bloopers reel of all that stuff. Because sometimes it's just like you have to embrace it. So you handled it with such grace. So hats off to you. Bravo.
You know what? This is episode, if I'm 557, I believe. So it's not my first rodeo. And as I said, we're here to serve. We're going to share some really good stuff. So if we're 5 minutes late, take a chill. Okay. So I always, one of the things I've heard from my my audience for a long, long time, initially when I was getting started, Tracey, they said people would tell me when I was going out to speak and stuff, it feels like we're listening to a party line, which immediately dates them and myself, right? I remember my grandmother's cottage used to pick up the phone and hear 2 ladies chatting back and forth. And they said, feels like you're just having a conversation with somebody, and we just love hearing some of the good stuff. So that's kind of why I'm still going after all these years. The other thing that I've heard is that people like the backstories and kind of what got you here, things you overcame, as much as the good, juicy tidbits of success. So first of all, longest question in the world, I guess, is with a little context, tell us a little bit about your backstory. Did you have any parents or grandparents, anybody kind of show you that there's more than life to it than a degree and a job and a paycheck? How'd you get into being an entrepreneur?
When I was really young, really young, there was a lot of struggle and difficulties going on in my family. And it's so interesting that you asked this because there was this moment where my dad had to make a choice between helping his brother or paying rent. And I was young. I was like 5. And I'm like, I'm never going to be in that position. It's like we want both, right? So I think early on and life struggles, I just would make mental notes. And then when I was old enough to write it down and start journaling, it was like, okay, I really want to have the freedom to do something that I love. And also things I loved were helping people along the way. So that just led to making an impact. So I think just like in the beginning of being surrounded by struggle and times of challenge, that it just set me on the path to, well, what could I do to make things different?
So you didn't go to school and to become a CPA and said, never mind. Or I've talked to so many people who went to school to become an attorney. Then they said, no, I don't want to do that.
No, I really I really have followed that intuition of, oh, well, maybe let's try this and how can I help? And just done it that way, really based on the struggle from early on in life. So it's funny because I could never be a CPA. That would like just the sound of that word makes me go, I would pull my hair out. I love my CPA and we need them, but that is so the opposite skill that I possess.
Yes. So when did you start your company, Beyond Common Coaching and Training?
So I literally always say all the things I've done in life are like stumbling in a puddle. So years and years ago, when I was 18, I was asked to speak to salon owners and hairdressers
Hmm.
about how to have that language of talking to them so that they would like sell shampoo. And I just did it because I wanted to help people. People had a problem. They wanted to have fuller hair. I was like, oh, this is for you. So some of the big wigs in the corporations were like, can you help us with this? So it kind of became that I became a coach standing on stage consulting business owners by accident.
So were you working in a salon and
I was, and I was really young and selling lots of stuff. And not because I was a good salesperson, but I didn't want to stand around bored. So I would
yeah.
read bottles and say, oh, this really worked for somebody else that had that problem.
So you started your business when?
So
Did you
like
say
18 by accident, the
for
consulting and
real? You've been a
yeah,
self-employed since 18?
yeah.
Good for you. That's awesome.
But my first entrepreneurial business was 9 when I used to make mixtapes talking about dating people, mixtapes that I would sell to my uncles. I don't know if that counts because they probably would have bought anything. But
Everybody's got the baseball card story or
I did
the
mixtapes. And
or
they're like, well,
reselling
what's this one
flowers.
about? Well, to make you smile. Like I would
Yeah.
put all the songs together.
So the beyond common sense, I kind of like that because a lot of being a good coach, number one, is having some experience and a skill set, but so much of it is common sense, I think. When you're talking to your clients, and I know this from 22 years being an entrepreneur and having several successful businesses of my own, you can be so close to your own business that you don't see something right in front of you. And sometimes I guess you could label that common sense or clarity. I was checking out your website and your blog. That's where, by the way, that's how, if anybody's looking for clues on how to do a good interview, I always spend about a half an hour the morning of my interview. And I check out blogs. I check out Amazon if they got books. I look at the topics under this table of content. I do a lot of different things because I want to make sure I pull out some good stuff. And most of the time I don't have Bill Gates trying to shut me down. So anyway, you have a blog post called Mastering the Abundance Mindset for Female Business Owners,
Yeah.
Unlocking Success and Prosperity. Not assuming, we do have a lot of women that watch, but the same stuff usually works for men too. So let's talk about the abundance mindset. Was that always natural, or was that part of your growing up watching your dad?
Well, that I would say that that is a never ending quest, right? Like it's one of those things that we are constantly put in situations that we think we made a breakthrough and we really get this wealth mentality. And then all of a sudden we get slapped in the face again with like a limiting belief. I'm like, where did that come from? So I think it's been an all along journey, but it's also when you see things that work and you're like, oh, okay, so you can really decide that you want to be more and do more for others, and by osmosis you end up having more. I found oftentimes through giving and helping, even when it's hard because you're like, no, it's mine, but the more you give it it
Yeah.
comes back to you.
I saw a blog post on your website, and I didn't write down the date, but I'm pretty sure it was like a year or two old. But it was called Three Tips to Keep Your Sanity When the Future Feels Uncertain. Most entrepreneurs, I don't care if it's, 2000s or 2008 and 9, that whole deal, and then COVID and all this stuff. There's not too many times when we operate our businesses with a certain degree of uncertainty, right? So, what are some of your tips for keeping sanity?
Well, I think that it's like we're always really in a state like nothing's guaranteed. There's no
Mhm.
promise of tomorrow. We can make predictable estimations and kind of predict results. But at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur is taking a risk, right?
Yes.
Taking a risk. But I think the more you're clear about your purpose and why you're in business, when your why is clear, I think that unlocks your wealth and abundance
Hmm.
mindset. I mean, the fact that you have a podcast all these years called Dream Business Radio,
Right.
right? It's like if you look at every business that's ever been successful, I mean, it started with a wish, a dream, and then it was the action that made it actually turn into this tangible business that people can see. So I think it starts with really being clear about, what's that problem you're going to solve and why are you showing up in the world? Because you wouldn't have wanted to be like in a situation where you were high pressure and technology is going off the rails if you didn't love what you were doing today.
That's
It's
right.
like we create these moments of uncertainty, but I think if we're really clear about why we're here, it's a breeze.
You know what's interesting? I'd love to get your take on this. I want to peel the onion back a little bit on what you
Yeah.
said. So, when somebody, as you say, what's your purpose? Why did you start your business? For a lot of folks, though, it comes back to I got to feed the family. I got 4 kids at home. I got to put hot dogs on the table or whatever, right?
That's the
So,
why.
if that's your why, but then I've helped some newbies start, and then success grabs a hold of them. It's like, ooh, I just did 50 grand. Now I'm going to do 100, and then you keep going. So your purpose is seemingly growing more revenue, but then something happens. I think I'm again. So sorry, my questions are like freaking a month long, but so then something happens where the what I like to say is the impact and the transformation you're able to have with your clients is more, it means more to you than the paycheck. And the paycheck isn't bad. But do you find that like the purpose shifts over time?
I definitely think that. I mean, I think when you're just getting started, if you really go after doing the best job you can for your clients in any
Mhm.
scenario, that you really put the focus and priority on serving, the money always follows. That's been in every type of business I've ever started, even though, in every way, shape, or form. I think if you focus on doing the best job you can, and the thing is, you'll look back, this better than anyone that's written a book, always, this, that, oh, I wish I could have changed these three sentences or
Mm.
what, like once it's done, it's always in an improving process. So you might look back and say, oh, I could have done this better. However, if you embrace the fact that you did the best you could to serve at the highest level with what you were provided, you'll always find that there's more clients looking for you. And then it does shift to where the serving and connection becomes more than the paycheck.
Right.
But if that's the why in the beginning to serve your family, I think
Nothing
your
wrong with
clients don't
that.
mind. They don't mind being a part of that story.
That's right. So there's this term which I don't really like, but work-life balance, or however you want to say it. And when I'm working with new entrepreneurs, especially, I say, listen, I can appreciate the fact that you want to leave at 5, be home for dinner, play with the kids. But suppose you've been going after this really great client for a long time. It's Thursday. It's like 5 o'clock. You're getting ready to go watch your son's T-ball or whatever. And this client says, hey, Jim, I'm in town. I was flying out, which is why I didn't call you. I was flying, but my flight's canceled. Do you want to have dinner? I'd love to hear what you thinking about doing for my company. What are you going to do? And no judgment. There's no bad answer. It all fits. But for me, I will honestly say I would take that client meeting, right? Be-
I would too.
so, what does that say?
I think if you spend the time necessary making sure that you're nurturing the relationships in your family. So
Hmm.
this is where I think I talk a lot about balance is BS. We have to seek harmony. So when you are going to all your kids' games and showing up all the time, my kids know that sometimes there's going to be an event I have to fly off to, but they appreciate when I'm there more. I make sure that it's intentional. And
Hmm.
I think oftentimes that if you just say, oh, well, I punched the clock at 5, you know what, you're never going to really be an entrepreneur. There are seasons of life, there are
That's
seasons
right.
in business. When you have to be really clear about what season you're in. And if you want to be successful, you don't, it's not about the hustle mentality. It's about being smart and strategic. So you can't be ignoring your family all the time and then also doing that, because you're going to end up miserable. But
Yeah.
you got to carve out time to do all the things that are important to you.
Yeah, the first 10 to 12 years of me being an entrepreneur, I figured I was the proverbial 80-hour a week dude. I never added it up. It was probably more than that sometimes. But then there was a point where I was like, do I want to do this for another 10 years? And I came to the conclusion, no. And that's kind of when I started on the dream business thing. And coincidentally, it's when I got my first boat. And I said, I'm going to take Fridays off. So I only started coaching Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Always had 3-day weekend, which was pretty cool. Right. And then when we moved on the boat full time, I said, I don't want to work Mondays either. So I literally, for the last 7 years, have worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm very busy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And believe me, was it scary? Oh my gosh, yes. Like, what if clients leave? What if, you know what I mean? So there's all this stuff. But the point is, I think you said it best, Tracy, there are seasons in the life of your business. And I couldn't have the business I had today had I not put in like that unbelievable amount of labor. My first years, my backstory was revenue free, which means it took Jim a whole year to get his first paying client. But had I not been willing to go through all of that, I wouldn't be here today.
That is absolutely true for so many business owners. I know, myself included. I did probably more than 80 hours a week, and at one point was like just not having a life. I was probably getting close to just breakdown in every
Right.
area, that I just had to rebalance. And it was a moment where I had a near death experience. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, that was a call from God. I was like, I came out of this sort of hydroplane spinning of the car, just rushing around, to being absolutely clear and fine. But it was in the moment that I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And I just started like just sort of reprioritizing my day, reprioritizing that, like, you can't live just for work. And it was, the sacrifice was becoming too great to where I felt it going in the direction where it could have been like, okay, you're walking yourself to an early grave. So
Yes.
I do not want anyone else to suffer alone like that. And so that is really when I started kind of putting it all out there. Like, yeah, you're going to work hard, but you also have to build in time to take care of yourself, because if you're not alive, then no one's going to benefit from what you can help them with.
It's so true. We've all heard stories, friends, relatives, or just people we know that keeled over at their desk and thinking, I'm going to do this when so I mentioned, I think we're on the air, but Monday was my 22nd year anniversary of first getting cancer. So I literally scheduled my appointment 6 months in advance. And my doctor looks at me and goes, Jesus, it was like 22 years ago, almost to the day that we first met. And I said, yeah, you gave me some great news. Thanks a lot. But I'm still here. I'm healthy. But it's like you start thinking about that, right? Um, one of the things I think is really important, and by the way, I'm really enjoying our conversation.
I know I could talk to you all day about dream business.
Yeah, so entrepreneurs, I don't want to say especially, but I think I know a lot of entrepreneurs who do get to the burnout stage. Work, 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 work. Now, when I started that slightly before I really came to that focus, I don't want to keep doing 80 hours a week all these years, is when I really started growing what I call my dream team. So back then, I still had like 5 or 6 businesses. I think I'm down to 3 right now. So and I grew this team of about 16 or 17 virtual assistants, no employees, but I had 17 VAs, writers, website people, people that were booking me on podcasts, all these people doing these things for me. Now, I call it my payroll just because that's how old school I am, but it was not payroll. But my payroll got to be pretty large, and that started eating into the bottom line, which what I could take home. But yet I had a much better quality of life, right? And it was like that. I think that's really, I want your opinion. That's really a stumbling block, is entrepreneurs have a hard time letting go and delegating.
That struggle is real, right? And oftentimes what I found, because they haven't spent time on the front end of clarifying why they're in business, what they're really doing, it makes it impossible to delegate. So if when you're starting out, you put that extra work in, then you're ready, because you're essentially buying your freedom, right? You start getting the help. And if you really look at it, like, you're not ever going to be good at everything. So like really focus on what you're good at and what you enjoy, and then pay people to do the stuff that they're really good at. So everyone's happy. But I think in that beginning, when we're like so focused on revenue, we're like, oh, we're going to save money. I think it costs you more money.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the memes I recently created, you basically just said it was, if there's stuff that you hate to do or you suck at it, pay somebody else to do it. Because if it's important to your business, it's holding you back.
And I
Of
only say that with love, because I've made all of these mistakes
course.
until I was like, okay, let's try it a different way, because that's clearly not working.
But see, that's what makes people like you and I good coaches. Nothing irritates me a little more than seeing somebody who's, and no offense to 22-year-old, says, I'm going to teach out of a 7 or 8 figure business. And they didn't make $42,000 last year. So it is the hash marks, it
Ooh,
is
you brought up
all the
my favorite
scars.
question. You brought up my favorite question to ask people.
Go
How did
ahead.
that work when you did it?
Yes. Yes.
So when you're hiring a coach, how did that work when you did it?
Really good stuff. So technically we have 4 more minutes, but old Jim's computer, the old Dell, yeah.
Oh, we have an
So we're
extra
gonna
5, right? No,
yeah,
I'm
we're gonna go another we're gonna go till 3:35 if that's okay with you.
yep, that I'll make
Um,
it work. Let's do it.
so one of your blog posts was about burnout, and we're sort of broaching that subject. So how does somebody avoid that? So short of spinning through the intersection, or having having cancer or whatever it is, how do what I used to say to this friend of mine, I said, I wish you didn't have to go through what I went through to have change of clarity. But sometimes people do need to go through something very significant to shake up their thinking. But as you're coaching your clients and you can see them kind of heading toward burnout, how do you steer them?
Th- you know, there's a lot of awareness questions that I would ask to lead them to, figuring that out. But honestly, the thing that I do often, and this is where sometimes I don't like to be called a coach, because I will just
Hmm.
be the loving kick in your pants. Listen, do you want to stay alive?
Yeah.
You're on a path. Lots like, and just like not sugarcoat this. Like sometimes you have to have a real heart to heart. And because, I know people that have suffered with cancer and heart attacks, and I had that scary accident. I will call it out if it's intuitively something I see happening. And I'd rather be wrong than not say anything.
Yeah, my clients call it Jim's tough love, and when they know it's coming, is that I will always do this. This might even be something you can use. That doesn't matter, but I always say, I need your permission to speak candidly. Well, of course, no, no, no. This is really going to suck. You're not going to want to hear what I have to. But then it's sort of like you get permission to just lay it out there, which you have anyway. But it's almost like, be careful. I'm opening the door. Here it comes. Right.
Yeah, it's the
But
extra layer of
I've
permission.
never done that. Well, I don't have to do it every day for sure, but I've never done that in a way where people regret having it done. It's usually like, thank you for opening my eyes, or, thinking something like that. I mean, I think that's a huge responsibility. And honestly, I think too many coaches, consultants, whatever, mentors, they hold back some of that tough love because they fear losing a client. But, the way I look at it, your client is investing with you for truth. And so
Absolutely.
give it to them. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you all day. So what would be what suppose you're working with difficult clients. How do you kind of maintain your mentally strong attitude when you got difficult people surrounding you or
Um,
part of your world?
I will invest more time in meditation. I
Hmm.
will make sure I have buffers built into my calendar to handle like a high level, you know what I mean? And n- I'm going to just keep this real. I
Okay.
say no to clients that are, I mean, if I think that you are not someone that I can help, that you're like that type of challenge,
Hmm.
I'll say no. I would rather you find somebody that is a great fit for you. But if you're the type of person that is always finding fault, never takes personal responsibility, and does not own your bullshit, you're not going to ever be a client for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I can honestly say I wasn't always that. I've been very, very blessed, and to work 3 days a week, and I can work with who I want. So, but it wasn't always that way. Sometimes,
Exactly. Right. We learned, right? Like we learned. Like I
yeah.
put up with a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, I never want to do that again.
Yeah. I think my last question. So, on one of your books on Amazon is Beyond Common 12 Essentials for Success in Life in the Workplace. I
Yeah.
believe it's a compilation book, and that was your chapter. Did I remember that correctly?
No, that
Oh,
Beyond Common is my book. I have a few other books like
okay.
Women Who Dream and Women Who
Hmm.
Shine that are compilation books. But Beyond Common, there's 12 chapters all written by me, and it's based on the method of really, really simplifying what it takes to be successful in life and business so that you can show up as your best self.
And so, can you share maybe just one or two things that would help you do that?
Well, the number one thing that everything starts with is being present, right?
Mm,
Showing up with presence, be intentional, and accepting responsibility for what is happening in your
yeah.
life, in your business. We never like to hear this that, if it's in your business, it's always pointing back to the leader,
Hmm.
but it is. It's like what we permit, we promote. Even when that's the hard pill to swallow, there's always things that we can do to improve the situation, and it's up to us to make that decision.
So, wait, what was it?
Oh,
Something we
what we
promote.
permit, we promote.
What we permit, we promote. Wow. Very profound. Oh my gosh. Tracy, I'm sure people have loved this, even if they missed out on the first 3 minutes. I think we made up for it. And they're going to say, well, Jim, where can we connect with Tracy? How can we learn more? So what's the website, or I'm sure you could mention your books or whatever you'd
Yeah,
like to
all of
do.
my books are at TraceyWattsCirino.com, and Tracy spelled CEY and Cirino is CIRINO.
Wow. Yeah, you do have to say that because
Right? I know. It's like
yeah.
Smith in Italian, but yeah, I do always spell it out for everyone.
Did you try and get twc.com? Was that taken?
You know what? That's Time Warner Cable. So absolutely
Oh
it's
my goodness. Time Warner. Oh, Tracy, thank you for being a good sport, hanging in there. I mean, I actually had to leave you while my computer did its long start, but thank you for a really fun interview. I'm sure this will live on the Dream Business platform for quite a while.
well, thanks so much for having me, Jim. It was my pleasure.
Hey, folks, that wraps up a very special interview with Tracey Cirino, and I would definitely connect with her. I always enjoy when a guest that I book doesn't make me like do backflips to get information. She gave me everything up front, and then the website, the books. It was just a breeze, and I knew it was going to be a great interview, and it was. So connect with her at her website. You can connect with me at getjimpalmer.com. That is my home base. If you're interested in joining me and about 27 other smart entrepreneurs in my Dream Business Virtual Mastermind, go to dreambizcoaching.com, dreambizcoaching.com. And by the way, you can still get a free copy of my ebook, which details, first of all, it's charge what you're worth and work 3 days a week. I detailed exactly how I went from one company to about five and then just kind of scaled back. But multiple streams of revenue is your friend. And I detail exactly how I was able to go and work 3 days a week for the last 7 years. Get a free copy at work3daysaweek.com. Oh, and I told you at the end of the show, I would tell you how to get free copies of all my books. This is now 2 years. 2 years ago, I started my legacy building program. I woke up one day and my face was all white. And I said, I better do something about my legacy. So I'm giving away all my books for free as Kindle on Amazon. They're Nook books, if anybody still is a Nook book reader. And they're also in the iBook store, totally free. No opt-in, no nothing. Just go get a good education on me. The Lord told me I need to help more people. I said, well, I'm not working more than 3 days a week, so I'm giving away my books. That's how I'm doing it. And I think that's it. Until this time, just slightly silly. Until this time next week, another fantastic interview. I am Captain Jim Palmer, the Dream Business Coach, and you take good care.